Hey, Aaron Rabinowitz here for Red Giant Software. In this episode of Red Giant TV, Eran Stern will show us how he created this promo for his new training DVD, The Best of Premiere Pro. Not to be confused with The Best Premiere Pro, a new reality series about video editors coming to the first network that wants to buy the idea from me. But back to the tutorial. He'll be covering noise reduction, keying, compositing, visual effects, and color correction in both After Effects and Premiere Pro. And so, without further ado, from the Holy Land, and by that I mean Israel, not Las Vegas, I give you Eran Stern, or as he is more affectionately known in his homeland, Eran Stern. Yalla!
Thanks, Aaron. So in this tutorial, we'll take a look behind the scenes of making this promo, which starts in Premiere Pro and then move to After Effects, where we'll fix some noise problem, create a color key, add contact shadows and light warp for better compositing, and then we will parent everything together for a 3D move, a fake 3D move I should say, and maybe even throw in some particles just to enhance the overall look. By then we should be ready to bring our intermediate render back into Premiere Pro and finish the piece with some additional color corrections to create a unique look. So as you understand, we've got a long journey ahead of us, so I should stop talking and start working. Alright, so what I have here inside Premiere is basically my offline edits of the cuts that I've used in order to create the final promo here, which I'm just going to quickly scrub just in order for you to see what we are aiming for. And of course, if you want to see the full promo, you can hop over to my website and just play it full screen. So just in order for you to get into the spirit of things, I will play this short section from here maybe until after the cut here. There are also a few dedicated movies for special effects in which I'm going to show you cool options for installing and using some extra plugins. Now these plugins are free and you probably have them on your system already. And to summarize this training, I'll cover the best third-party plugins. Okay, so just to let you know, I'm covering the best third-party plugins, among them few of Red Giant Software, which are great and works even surprisingly better inside Premiere Pro in terms of rendering. But today we are going to take this shot and move it over. So basically there are a couple of methods how to move this shot from Premiere Timeline to After Effects. One of them is to go under the File menu and under the Dynamic Link option, you can ask it to replace with After Effects Composition. This will take this clip and put it inside the appropriate composition inside After Effects. Or you can of course render your video, or even better, you can just select it and then under Edit, copy it to the clipboard. And now I will move into After Effects. And here I should be able to paste it, but you see the paste command is dimmed. And this is due to the fact that After Effects must have an active composition in order for it to paste these elements or these clips. So I'm going to create a new composition. And in this case, I'm going to work on a 720p composition. For the sake of this tutorial, I will call it intro wide. And the duration doesn't really matter. I'm just going to select OK here. And now I should be able to paste the clip. And the clip should be pasted at the same location as it was in the Premiere timeline. So if I'm going to move my playhead here to the beginning of the clip, we can see that it is under 1 minute, 20 seconds and 12 frames, exactly the same location as it was in the Premiere timeline, Premiere Pro timeline. I also got a clip here in the bin, and this is of course the same media, which is the native P2 media that I've used when imported into Premiere. So what I'm going to do now is basically just trim this comp to the work area. So we'll just have this area to work with. So usually when I'm working with such materials, and this is also the case when I'm basically working with any keying material, what I'm usually doing is select it in the timeline, and first thing I will pre-compose it. And then you can name it whatever you like. So I will call it basic key. It will be more than basic. And I'm going to leave all the attributes and say OK. And this will leave the clip inside this timeline without doing anything to it. But here inside the main comp, we will get the whole complete full HD size, which translate, by the way, if you're going to composition setting, to an HD file format. Then it will automatically convert it to the correct pixel aspect ratio when we are placing it here inside our 1280 by 720. But what this gives us is the real pixels, which with them we can generate hopefully the best key possible. So what I want to show you before we will start keying this footage, and let me just try to zoom in a little better, even let's go to 200%. And now I'm going to press on the Alt or Option key and just move between those channels. So this is the red channel, this is the green, and this is the blue. And the reason that I'm showing it to you is due to the fact that at the result of this day, from the shooting of this day, I got a very noisy footage. It is not so obvious when we're just trying to play it. I hope that you can see the noise, even though this recording is obviously being compressed, but it will make this keying a difficult process or difficult task. And of course, it will leave us with a lot of grain information inside our footage. In these cases, what you can do is either add some grain to your CGI element or try to remove the grain from your source. And this usually comes with a price, because when trying to remove noise, you usually pays with quality. So your footage becomes less noisy, but also loses a lot of details and contrast. This is until I met this plugin. It's from the Magic Bullet family and it's called Denoiser. So let me just apply it to my footage here. And immediately this takes over and do most of the task by its own. So I usually find that leaving this with the default parameters more or less gave me the best option. Let me just show you once again. This is the red channel, the green, and the blue. They are much cleaner. Let me just try to remove the FX icon and put it back in, and hopefully you can see the difference. If not, trust me, the difference will be very pronounced when we will add our keyer, and this is the next thing that I'm going to do, and it will generate much cleaner key, once again, without harming your footage. So the footage stays almost the same, if not completely the same. Once again, let me show you, this is without the filter and this is with the filter. It just removes the noise. This is just fantastic for me. So next step is to key the footage. I will do it fairly quickly using the key light effect built in into After Effects. I'm just going to use this sample to sample the green around me. And then I will zoom a little bit out so I can see most of the frame here. Go to my alpha channel by hitting Alt 4, and this will show me the matte that I've just created. So I'm going to clip the black a little bit and compensate here with the clip white option. And once I'm happy from this, and look at me, I'm very happy in the video here, so I think that it says it all. I'm going to use a quick garbage matte, or garbage mask I should say, just in order for cleaning all the things around me in the studio. And this is a good spot to add some contact shadow. So I'm going to take my image a little bit higher here, just to make sure that this is always happening, that I'm cropping the end of the frame as well. And now before I'm going to drop the shadow in, let me just come back to the main composition here and explain why I'm going to do this. So I'm going to drop my background here, and this is an image that I rendered from Cinema 4D. Just going to scale it a little bit down, maybe to somewhere like this. and then take my basic key here, press S and scale me to maybe 70%. Then I'm going to place my image over here at this area, more or less. All right. And I want to emphasize the contact point between myself and the background. So I think that a little bit of a contact shadow will help to do this. So I can add this to this comp here, but I'm not going to do this in this scenario because I want to make sure that I will be able to press here later on the collapse transformation. And this will give me the option to scale this beyond 70% back to its original dimensions without hurting the pixels inside. So for this to work, I must return to my basic key and add my contact shadow here. I'm going to do this using another plugin from Red Giant, and it's called Red Giant Warp Shadow. So I'm going to drag and drop it onto my footage here and change the light direction to backlit. And basically I want the shadow to be from my shoes here downward. So I'm going to change the height and slant slider here. And let me just zoom in a little better so we can see what I'm doing. And now we are facing a problem that the shadow cannot reach beyond the boundary of this layer. So luckily we have a solution here under the 2D transform. We can actually use the grow bounds in this plugin to just grow the bounds, of this layer, and then slide it or bring it to the place that we want. Okay, so let's do the initial settings over here. So maybe change the softness a little bit more. I will give it somewhere around maybe 80, and also fade the length out to somewhere around this neighborhood. And I think that this should look fine, but in order to check it, we must return to the intro wide composition. And once again, it looks fine, but if you want to do additional modifications and wish to preview this window and work inside a basic key comp, we can actually lock this window here, return to the basic key, and then maybe treat it a little bit better, maybe changing the softness aspect, and also change another parameters, maybe change the fade length a little bit. And everything that we are doing here inside this comp will obviously be reflected in real time when we are viewing the previous viewer, the composition main viewer. So I think that maybe around this area, I think it looks quite okay for what I need. So maybe I will just lower the height just a little bit. There, I think that we've got it. Maybe also lower the opacity just a touch. And now we can return to the intro wide, release this lock, and we are ready to move on. In order for this shot, for this video to look even more integrated into the scene, we can even enhance it with a key correct plugin that will help us to actually add a fake light warp around the subject. In this case, around myself. So I'm just going to drag this light warp here and tell it to use the 02 depth of field video, which is just the name of this layer, as our background layer, as our background source. And let's just zoom in 100% and bring this over and just toggle it on and off in order for us to see that we have our light warp around. I think that in this case, I might change the blending mode, the comp mode, to multiply and maybe add a little bit more width into it. And the reason is that I want to keep the contrast between myself and the background. But you can go either way. You can use the screen or multiply and just choose how much of the background you want to spill back around your subject. I think that this looks a little bit better. Once again, you can turn it on and off just in order to see how it reacts with the rest of the elements here. I might as well also decrease the brightness here just a touch to bring back the drop or the contact shadow that we've added just now. And now we are basically ready for our move here. So in order to create something which runs a little bit faster in terms of rendering time, what I've decided is, instead of just rendering animation, full animation from Cinema 4D, I've just rendered this one shot. And I figure that if I'm going to After Effects, I can add a null object here, which is what I'm doing right now, and then connect both of my layers to the null object. And then by animating the position and the scale of this null object, I can create a faux feeling that everything here in the scene is moving in some way like a 3D move. So this is basically what I did at the main promo as well. And now we can also zoom into the shot a little bit. And for this purpose, I've enabled the collapse transformation, which means that I can zoom in a little bit more if I needed to, and it will still keep the pixels nice and sharp. And of course that when we zoom in a little bit more, we can see that we can blend with original our light warp, because it looks a little bit too intense looking on it a little bit more closer. So basically we've got our basic move here. And of course I always recommend, after setting this kind of animation, to maybe select your last keyframes and under animation go and convert them to easy ease. So the motion will be a little bit ease towards the end. All right. And now, as always, when working with keying and compositing, it's always important to check the results full frame. I mean 100%, and of course full motion. So I will toggle the screen, and unfortunately the screen area, record area, doesn't allow me to show you 100%. So we'll go with the next best thing, which is full resolution 80.1%. And let's see and hear the outcome so far. Now these plugins are free and you probably have them on your system already. As I told you before, this is one of the lines that I'm saying in the promo. From the result, we can see that everything is very clean. We've managed to remove all the noise, keeping our subject very sharp. I'm very happy with all the rest of the movement and the shadows and everything, but I think it still misses something. And what I really like to do is maybe add some noise, some dust, some particles just flying around or behind our subject. So for that, I've already prepared a particular dust comp, which I'm going to open and play maybe a few seconds, short amount of time for you, and hopefully you can see that there are kind of dust, just tiny bits of dust flying around, and this will add a lot of atmospheric to the shot. I'm not going to walk you through each and every step that I did, but just a quick walkthrough is in place. So I'm going to hit UU in order to show all the attributes that I've modified, and then I'm going to hover to full screen for a moment and just basically read for you what I've did. So the emitter is set to 10 particles per second, which is very, very few particles. I set it in a box shape covering the whole frame, which is 1280 by 720, and gave it a little bit more depth into the Z area. The velocity here is set to 10. And by the way, all the other parameters of this effect are set to their default values. I changed the emission extras to 100, so at the first frame of this, we already get to see a few of the particles, or maybe even most of them already happening in the screen. And then I choose a cloudlet particle type with a duration of 15 seconds, size of 2. I allow it to random the size 100%, and I also lowered the opacity and gave it a permission to use random opacity over time. Under the physics, I chose a minus 0.5 in order for the dust to raise a little bit up in the air. And then I also set a spin amplitude of 30 and the same value for the wind and X and Z, pushing these particles a little bit. And of course, as always, in this kind of scenario, it is well recommended to add a turbulent fill just to affect a few parameters. So in this case, size and position are affected. And this is the result. And basically I've set the composition to run 1 minute. So I have enough of them if I wanted to use them on various takes. So I'm going to go back into my intro wide here, just drag down my particle dust and place it under myself. And then just to tie it to the faux camera move that we have, I'll parent it to null number 1. And if you feel that this is a little bit too strong, you can always press T and lower the opacity of this comp. So it will even mix better with the environment that we have. And this little treatment will add life to the whole scene. It will give it a little bit more something to watch while we are just seeing, a person standing and talking. Okay. What I will do is basically render this composition to a video file and then import this video file into Premiere and then add some color correction. So for that, I'm going to Composition, Add to Render Queue. I'm going to render this in a ProRes format with sound just to keep the quality nice and sharp. And through the magic of editing, I will meet you when this render is done. Okay, so the render is finished. Now we can open the output module, drag the name back into the project in order to import the project back here. And now what we can do is copy the clip from here, return to Premiere Pro, activate the project panel and paste it inside. Here inside Premiere, I will take my render, drag it onto the make new timeline here in Premiere and just zoom to fit in order to see everything. And we can basically see this is what we came up with and this is the end result. And as I told you, the reason that we came back inside Premiere is the ability to preview and playback this clip much faster than inside After Effects, although these plugins are available inside After Effects if you rather continue working there. So it's up to you basically. But for me, I like to see things as they are rolling. So we'll start with the looks. I'm just going to type down looks, which should isolate the magic bullet looks. I will place it on top of this clip. Head over to the effect controls, open it up, and then press on the edit look. And this will launch the full interface. I'm just going to squeeze it to the recording area, the tight recording area, and zoom out a little bit. In most of these cases, I usually start with one of the nice presets that ships with the product. So in this case, I'll choose to start with the edge noise soften. I apply it and then turn it on and off so we can see what it will do. And I think that I want to add maybe a little bit more treatment to the lens and also maybe a little bit of color correction after everything to the post. So from the tools here, I'm going under the lens category and I will take one of my favorite, the swing tilt option. Just drag it over here. And this will allow me to even exaggerate the depth of field that we have here. So what I'm going to do basically is just take this and place it just around the person, this person head. And then maybe just drag it a little bit to widen up the effect. And then I'm going to change the blur size down heavily, maybe to around 1.25. And this will add a little bit more depth of field to the whole scene. I really like it, even though it's a very subtle effect. I also want to color correct everything. So from the post category here, I'll scroll down and take the three-way color corrector, add it to the post, and maybe take the midtones to the pinkish area of, Premiere Pro, because this is the color the scheme color of the software. So I might as well change it over here. So this looks quite nice. Once again, I will turn on and off the whole settings of the plugin, and I will accept it by saying OK. And as I said, you can try to just play it here. Now these plugins are free, and most of the time you get a decent playback. However, not real-time playback, but you can obviously judge from the few frames that we just saw how it's going to look. Let me just play another section for you. And you probably have them on your system already. So Premiere tries its best to play it, and I think it does a very nice job. I'm not going to settle just with the looks, because I found out that combining looks and mojo together gives me a better look most of the times. So I'm going to go back into the effects, and this time I'm going to type down mojo. If you install it, you also get presets just like inside After Effects. And I found out that using the Mojo Rising preset gives me a very, very nice look to what I like. So this might be a little bit over the top, a little bit more than what I need. So I'm going to blend it with original quite severely until I find something good in the middle. And I really like the Mojo approach to the skin tone. While it will fix everything, but most of the time it will leave the skin tone unharmed. So you can really get away with severe changes and very aggressive look. However, keeping the subject looking like, a regular skin tone, and they are not ill because they did some kind of color correction. And by the way, if you are satisfied just from Mojo, you can actually play it real time inside Premiere without the need to render. So just to let you see how it looks just with the Mojo fix, I will turn it a little bit up and just play the sequence for you. Now these plugins are free, and you probably have them on your system already. Very cool. However, we will dim it a little bit and bring back the looks. And I think that this is our final creation, our final look. So I can tell that you are probably worried because you are seeing a red line here, which means that we have to render. We need to render in order to view it. But I want to demonstrate by hitting on the Enter key how fast it is to render inside this software with this CS5 64-bit plugins. They are very, very quick. And if you know me, you know that I'm usually not recording rendering time. Now these plugins are free, and you probably have them on your system already. I mean that when I'm recording tutorials, obviously I cut out the time that, the software is rendering. But this time, I think it's a good opportunity to show you and demonstrate how quickly it was. And this is basically the scenario that I worked in order to create the final promo. So this also brings us to the end of this tutorial, in which we saw how easy it was to work between Premiere Pro and After Effects using those great compositing and color correction tools from Red Giant Software. And of course, let's not forget also Particular as well for creating some nice particles. Hopefully you enjoyed the look behind the scenes of creating this promo for the best of Premiere Pro. And from me, Eran from SternFX.com. Have a good day. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for your time. See you soon.
Thanks, Eran. Great tutorial. Folks, if you're interested in learning more about Eran and his work, check out his site at SternFX.com. And to get directly to his new training DVD, The Best of Premiere Pro, head over to SternFX.com/products/44. This 4-hour DVD is an in-depth exploration of Premiere Pro, from editing tricks through graphic design, audio mixing, transition, and effects. If you're already working in Premiere Pro or looking to get into it, this DVD is definitely worth checking out. Also, it comes with an offer from Artbeats for 2 free HD clips. Not bad. Don't forget, you can download a free trial version of the software that Eran used in his tutorial at redgiantsoftware.com. And you can get free presets for Red Giant plugins on redgiantpeople.com. And to keep up with the latest news about new products, tutorials, tips, and deals, Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or on our blog. Oh, hey kid, got an iPhone? Yeah, I thought so. Check out our app Plastic Bullet, which gives your images the same fun and random look of a plastic toy camera. Smile! Or don't, Moody's good too. And you can get that at the iTunes Store. Once again, I'm Aaron Rabinowitz for RedGiantTV.com. See you next time.